Hey guys, I can see that a few of you have joined in. So we're just going to wait for some more people to join because the more the merrier. So let's wait just slightly more for some more people to join in. And as soon as we have a bigger crowd, a bigger cohort here, we'll start. Essentially, we'll start in the next 2 to 3 minutes. In the meanwhile, I would request everybody to make sure that your questions are ready so that as soon as we can, we will have your questions to Sanjana. So make sure that you have your questions handy. Okay, hi everyone. I can see that a few of you have already joined in, and I am incredibly excited. Since I think I've seen a lot of you, I think I'm seeing a lot of you for the first time. Some people I have seen before. So on the same note, one thing that is now making me very happy is the fact that I think we are also going live on YouTube. So everyone, hi on YouTube. I think there are some people who can see me. So hi everyone, welcome to the session today. I am so incredibly excited to have you all for this session particularly because again, the guest we have today is so special. And I feel so honored to have this special guest here with us. And I feel so happy that all of you who are here, so all the people who have joined us from Zoom, all the people who are joining us on YouTube, I am so incredibly happy that you all are getting this golden opportunity to talk to a student who has essentially cracked the code. So, hi, I am going to take your name wrong. So, hi, that's great. That's interesting. So, hi, everyone. My name is Morvi. And just like a lot of you, I was also a study abroad aspirant. I am now a student. And I do match a little with the guest that we have today, but I'm going to let the guest talk today. Okay, so hi everyone, welcome to the session. I'd like to know a little bit about you guys. Let me get to know you guys a bit better. So as I mentioned about me, I was a study abroad aspirant. Now I'm a study abroad student, essentially did that transfusion. So what about you guys? Where are you guys joining in from? You guys can also let me know which course, which country do you guys want to go for? So guys, let's try to make this session as interactive as possible. Otherwise, it makes no sense. We have invited you and we're giving you this opportunity to, talk to a student face to face. So go ahead, use this opportunity, make sure that it's as interactive as possible. Let's also try to give our guest a good time while she's here. Okay, so we have Pragal. right? Pragal, if I'm taking your name wrong, please correct me. Pragal wants to go for Masters in Biomedical Engineering in USA. Pragal, and you can also mention which intake do you want to go for. So do you want to go for fall 24, spring 24? Are you going for fall 2023? Let me know. So guys, give me which courses are you going for, which countries are you going for? I want to know everything. Okay, Pragal is going for fall 2024. Who else here is going for fall 2024? Hi, I think Sanjana has just joined us. So, hi Sanjana, how are you? So excited to have you in this session.
Hi.
Great. So, Sanjana, let me just brief you about what's happening. I just asked everybody here a question of what country, what course, and which intake are they going for. So we have, just to know everybody a bit better. So we had Pragal here wants to go for Masters in Biomedical Engineering. Udit wants to go for MS in Engineering or MBA. Vineet wants to go for MSc in Finance or for Spring 2024. Awesome. Great.
Awesome.
So make sure that you are putting in your answers, you're putting in your questions. And we have Krishna here wants to go for Bachelor's in CS. And Saurabh here wants to go in MS in Marketing. So quite a diverse field today, quite a diverse cohort. Hanusha here wants to go for Master's in Information System and Business Intelligence in the US. Awesome. Raghav here wants to go for MS in Computer Science. Okay, so guys, thank you so much for actually answering the question. It gives me, and I'm sure that it gives Sanjana also a lot of groundwork to build our discussion on. So let us formally start today's session, right? Let us formally start because you guys can see the excitement that I have for today's session, just because we have such an incredible guest with us tonight. And so let me formally introduce her, okay? I don't want to, lend her, but let me formally introduce because I, once again, very excited. So we have here with us Sanjana. She is a star admit for us for fall 2023. She has gotten an incredible whopping 9 admits. And now these 9 admits are from some top universities or some from the best universities that you can get into in US for engineering management. This includes UMass, University of Massachusetts, Texas A&M. We have Northwestern University, Northeastern University, University of Southern California, and her pick, obviously, North Carolina State University. So, and while I was actually talking to her before this session, she has the amazing insights for GRE. So anybody who is still debating about GRE, you might want to stick around for this session because you guys are in for a discovery today. So hi Sanjana, welcome to the session. And yeah, let's do this. Let's begin the session. I'm so excited and I have so many questions ready with me.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for that introduction. I feel very humbled. I feel like, oh, okay, is this my introduction? But thank you so much for that. Yeah, basically, if I have to talk about, are we open to questions or should I just tell everybody about my journey to start off?
Journey first. You can tell about your journey. How did you start? How did you get 9 admits? I'm sure everybody here is very curious, including myself. So yes.
Okay. So first of all, I started sometime early last year, around Jan, Feb. That's when I decided to take the whole master's plan very seriously. I started talking to my parents first about it because financial discussion was a very important thing for me at that point. Like I wanted to be sure if the family and if I could take that decision at that point. So that was the first thing that I did. And I got tremendous support from my friends, from my family about this decision. Though I've always wanted to go to the US and study, but at one point I got too comfortable with my life. So I had taken a back seat with respect to pursuing masters, but once I started working, I work as a business functional analyst. That's when I realized I'm better off, around people than with just one machine in front of me, like a computer. So that's when it hit me that, maybe I'm not too comfortable with studying electronics and communication because that's what I had done in my undergrad. That's when I started thinking what would be the best course for me considering the interest that I have. And that's when I came across this amazing opportunity called as engineering management, masters in engineering management. And I started digging deeper. Jan and Feb was mostly about what I wanted to do. And I started talking to a lot of seniors. I'm telling you, LinkedIn is your place to go. Forget your Instagram and other social, I'm not saying forget, but just keep it aside for a couple of months. LinkedIn should be your place to go. I spoke to a lot of people and I connected. I started building network. I started understanding the roles that I could get into post my master's, because that's a very important a thing that you have to keep in mind, because you know what you want to study, but do you know what you want to do after that? That's a question that you need to constantly keep asking yourself so that you get clarity. And I took 30-45 days to finalize my course. And then that's when I actually took YOCKET's help. Like, I wanted to understand what would be the best universities for my course. Because it's a niche course, I did not want to get into or apply to any tier 2-3 colleges. I was very particular about my universities. So I discussed it with my counselor, and then we made a shortlist. And the shortlist keeps varying. It depends on your, it depends. Like, once you progress through your journey, you realize some colleges are not maybe meant for you, or you have to apply to better universities. So keep your I would say shortlist flexible. Like, do not be too rigid at the start. That's a thing that I also realized. Like, I mean, have an idea, don't be too clueless, but keep 2-3 colleges extra so that, towards end, maybe you can drop off some of them from your list. And then I started preparing for GRE. I think I prepared for a month or two. And TOEFL, I did not honestly prepare a lot because I had already been studying for my GRE. So it kind of helped me for my TOEFL. One important thing I would like to talk about TOEFL is I do not have like a great or an extraordinary score. I scored 310 out of 340. And for my course, GRE is not a very important factor. And I know a lot of people, even from other departments, where GRE is not the only, important criteria. It's not just for 1 or 2 courses, it's for almost all courses. So don't feel disheartened if you do not get your dream score. And I also know people who got 325 and still did not get an admit. So it's really not a deciding factor. The only deciding factor, I would say. There are so many other things. So when I got 310, I was not too sure if I had to write my exam again, give it again, score maybe 320 or something. But I decided to go ahead and apply with the same score. Instead, I thought I can take the same time that I'll have instead of preparing again and giving the exam again to make my profile better. Like, I wanted to be better with respect to the resume I made, with respect to the essays I wrote, with the diversity essays, with the regular SOPs, making sure I connected well to my professors and the managers that gave me LORs, so that they know what kind of LORs that they could give me. So I decided to build myself better with the time. So I know it's a very personal choice that we all make, but at the same time, I would just like to let you all know that GRE is not a roadblocker. Have a decent score. Anything above 310, 315 is good enough to apply to good schools, but make sure there is something that will lift your profile. Like, if it's GRE, then it's good for you. For me, I had my co-curricular activities. Like, I've been working as a treasurer in my company, Schneider Electric's Toastmasters Club. And I'm also working as a communication lead in one of the clubs. It's called Voice of Workforce. So I knew that I could defend myself or uplift my profile because of these things. So make sure you analyze your profile overall, because that's what even the admission office would do by looking at your profile. So that's a little bit about my exams, GRE. And then TOEFL it went well. and my idea was to score really well with respect to speaking, because I heard from somebody that if you do well in TOEFL speaking, the chances of you getting a TA position or an RA position increases. So I wanted to focus on that, and I scored a 30 on 30 there. So it just helped me it made my profile better, I would say. Then comes writing my SOPs. I started writing my SOPs a little before giving my exam, because I wanted to make sure all my thoughts were put into a place. It was the most crude form of my thoughts at that point. But it was important because it genuinely was what I felt at that point. And after my exams, I started making sure that my essays took a good shape. That's again where the YOCKET consultancy came in. Best part about it is they don't handhold you, like they don't write your essays, which is very important, because one thing I realized is when you write your essay, that's when you actually know what you want to do. And that's a very beautiful process of you understanding yourself, understanding the course and what you want to do in your future. So I would say, while I was writing my SOP, it made it even clearer for me about my future, about my course, about the specializations that I wanted to do. And before I started, I reached out to my counselor. I asked them what are the important factors or key things that a good SOP would have. And once I had all these important discussions with my counselor, I started drafting my SOP. And once my first draft was ready, I got on a call with my counselor and my editor, and we did a review. And there were a lot of changes that were suggested to me. And then we did a second and a third review. And once I did that, I realized how the essay has actually developed over the reviews and discussions that I had. So one thing I would like to say is, before you get on a discussion with anybody, or before you look at any friend's SOP, because it's very natural, you would look at somebody who's already in the US, you ask them to send their SOP so that you know where to start, how to go about it. But I would say it'll influence your thoughts somewhere. So before you talk to anybody, make sure you put in your original version on a paper somewhere, so that you are not getting disturbed at any point. Like, your thoughts are original, you are true to yourself. And maybe later you can look at somebody's SOP and see how they have brought out their self on paper, and you can try to take inspiration from them. So I think the first thing would be to, without getting influenced, put in your thoughts on a document to start off. Yeah, so that's about SOP. YOCKET will review your SOP. They will not write it for you, which is a very good thing. It's because a lot of people kept asking me, is your consultancy writing your SOP? I'm like, no, they're just going to help me review it, and they're going to tell me what is right, what is wrong. So I think that's a very good thing. That's about essays, and the same thing happens with your diversity essay. So it's a similar process that we follow. Some of the universities don't ask for diversity essay. I remember Purdue asking me for a diversity essay. I wrote what I felt about. I actually wrote something about my childhood, which was very personal, that I put in the SOP. And I was told by my counselor that admission department there at Purdue will like it because it's original, personal, and it's I haven't copied it from somebody or from any source. So I would say don't think anything is trivial. As long as it's personal, I think it's more appreciated when you're writing an essay. That's about SOPs. And about my resume, again, when I started off with my resume, I still remember it being very college level resume. And then I was told how to specifically curate one for each country. So one good thing about one important thing before you start with anything is to finalize your country, because it makes your journey a lot easier, because you have to curate your profile for that particular country. I was confused between Australia and US. for my course because Australia has a very good MOM program. It's called Master of Management, and US has a very good MEM program. So I was very confused between these two, and I did not want to put my step in both the boats at the same time. So I decided to go ahead with US. So I would suggest all of you to first decide your country, because each country has their own way of writing essays and making your resume. So it just makes it easier for you guys. Yeah, sorry about that digression. Now coming back to my...
It's definitely very important, because it also is the fact that different countries are looking for different things. So in let's say if you're talking about Australia, so their universities are looking for something different. Anybody here who's going for UK, you'll have to be very academically profound, because UK universities like that. US universities, let's say, like research and practical knowledge. So thank you for actually bringing that point up, because that was really important. I think we were talking about this in the morning as well.
Yeah.
Curating your SOP one by one, brick by brick is really important. Yeah, so continuing your thought on the resume. So I think a lot of people here are working professionals, and I'm sure that when you started, you must have been a working professional as well, considering you have 2 years of experience. So how does that build onto your resume? And what are some things that, let's say anybody here who's going for fall 2024, who is a working professional at the moment, what are some things that they should include and some things that they shouldn't include from your personal experience?
Okay. I would say it depends on the course. Obviously, I can talk about my course. I had to include a good amount of leadership experience that I had, along with the technical experience that I have with respect to my role. And I also included projects that could translate to what I would be studying in my current master's program. Since engineering management involves both sides of the world, managerial as well as technical, I put in the co-curricular experience that I had. And also the role that I have. As I told you, I'm working as a business functional analyst. So I have to do a lot of risk mitigation, investigation, stakeholder mapping, engagement. So all of these are actually building blocks of engineering management, if you see. So even when I started my SOP, I started off with talking about these building blocks, how at one point I did not know that these are important pillars of engineering management. But only after I dug deeper into my course, I realized that they actually translate into the degree that I'm going to do. So I would say if you're going to pursue computer science, because I interact very closely with my friends who are also going to pursue computer science in NC State, I saw their resume being very technical, at least some of them who want to specialize in a particular field like analytics or something like that. They spoke about the projects that they did in that particular field, because it makes sense. Otherwise it'll just add to your profile. It'll tell them that you know about it, and you don't know everything about it, but you also know something that will give them an impression why you want to study about it further. If you can justify why you want to study that particular course, either in your resume or in your SOP, I think that should help, because it's a very important thing that the admission council there will actually decide. So I would say have a good mixture of technical stuff, and also a couple of CSR or any other social groups that you're a part of, at least in one bit of your resume. That will really help.
Yes, 100%. See, so that is what I was telling everybody here, even before you joined in, that everyone is here for a huge ride. Because as we were speaking in the morning, one thing that you made sure that we wanted to talk about was that GRE is not a deciding factor. And at YOCKET, because we're India's largest study abroad platform at the moment, we see so many students coming in with apprehensions of either my GPA is not good or my GRE score is not good. Even in my case, I was switching my major. So my major is completely unrelated to what I'm doing for my master's, right? So we get a lot of students asking those questions. But it's really important. I think we had a similar question by Sameer Lalwani here, who asked that apart from GRE, what are the things that we should consider? So GRE is one thing. Okay, let's say we messed up GRE. Now, GRE is not an option for us to put on the profile. What are some things that we should put on the profile?
Something that you should put on your profile, I'm sure they will consider your CGPA. So see, it could be a little late for some people because we've already graduated. So there's nothing we can do about it, but it's okay. Just given your GPA, because you cannot not give your GPA. It's not an option like GRE. So you can put in your GPA. I think SOP is a very, very important factor. Making sure that your SOP is top notch is very important. And make sure you answer any of the other optional questions or essays that they ask you. That's very, very important, because it shows that you're putting in effort while filling an application, and you want to be considered for anything extra that they can think of. I remember some of my friends not applying to NC State because they'd asked additional 5 or 6 essays. It's very exhausting, especially when you're thinking of considering applying for 7, 8 universities. It becomes very taxing, but make sure that you do all of these things, because it makes you stand out. Like, imagine I did not do it, like I wouldn't have gotten into NC State, and just by writing it I have an upper hand compared to my other friend who did not give that essay. So just by attempting it, it just makes you or puts you in a better position. So make sure you answer all of these additional questions, and don't just answer it for the sake of it. Again, make sure you make sense when you're doing it. And LORs, it's very important that you talk to your professors and your the places where you're working. Make sure you get it from somebody reputed, somebody who knows you, not just any other random person in your organization or your colleges. I got it from the chief technology officer from the place where I was interning, and my manager, and another professor of mine whom I had worked under for my project. So make sure there is some connection between you and your professor or the person who's giving you LOR. So that's very important. Your CV is important. Yeah, I think these are some important, like, main things that I can think of at this point.
Right, that's completely correct. And what you mentioned, I think this is the reason why we like to have people who have essentially, I'd like to call it crack the code, because these small nitty-gritty things that you cannot work around unless and until you've either been through the process, you've been through the grind, or there's somebody who's actually told you. So yes, exactly. Optional essays, anything that says you don't have to answer, still go ahead, guys. Answer the question to the best of that ability, because you essentially feel it that it's another window beyond that 200-word prompt where you can actually showcase your skills. So go ahead and do that. Okay, so I've got a really interesting question here by Surbhi, who said that how did you prepare for GRE as a working professional, and how did you manage the prep along with other co-curricular activities? Because again, coming to the fact that you are a working professional. So how did that happen?
I think the key is to start early. I did not try to push everything towards end of the deadline. I started last year, early last year, that was March. That's when I started prepping. I would do around like 2 hours or 3 hours of prep every day along with my work, either wake up early in the morning or after my working schedule, like maybe 6 or 7 in the evening. So I think the idea is to give yourself time for the whole process. Just prioritize, I would say prioritize studying over your other things. Like sometimes I would skip going out with my friends over weekends because I wanted to prep for this. So like weekends, I would try to compensate for, a couple of days when I had a very bad schedule at work. So I would say 2 or 3 hours prep every day should actually be good enough. And when I would travel to office, I would just cram the GRE words on my way. And, like you have flashcards on your mobile. Now that there are so many options, I think it actually just makes it easier for all of us. 2 hours, 3 hours of prep on weekdays and weekends, I would actually end up spending like 5 hours or something. I would give myself mocks over the weekends just to see where I am. So yeah, I think that was how I went about it.
That's great. That's great. I never got to give GRE. I was too intimidated by GRE. But I have always, even for when I was giving my IELTS score, when I was giving my IELTS exam, one thing that I knew was to make sure that I'm giving as many mocks as I could, so that, you have a better understanding exactly of where you're standing. So now coming down to the point that, you've mentioned such amazing things about YOCKET, that YOCKET, we do not write anybody's SOP, we do not write anybody's LOR. And actually one of our lead counselors, one of our counseling manager here at YOCKET, Fiona, always says that it's a therapeutic meditation process almost, where you get to know so much about yourself. So when you were searching, I'm sure when you started researching and you knew that you had to study abroad, through that journey, what was a point where you came across YOCKET, and what made you stick to YOCKET and trust us to help you study abroad and help you reach such amazing universities that you've reached?
I again got the contact from one of my seniors who's doing engineering management at Purdue. So I was just talking to her about my plan, about what I want to do in future. And she told me that I could actually just go on YOCKET. This is even before I subscribed to the premium package. So she told me, just put in your profile details and then it gives you the prediction percentage, etc. So I was very curious about that. That's where I actually started my journey with YOCKET. But I thought maybe I should not limit myself just to this. I knew I needed somebody to give me the right direction, like not to handhold me, but at least tell me what is right, what is wrong. And that's when I decided to go ahead with YOCKET. And yeah, I first spoke to the counselor from the sales team about what YOCKET does, what are the services that are offered. And after I actually spoke to her, I was confident, I was happy that, yeah, maybe this could be the right thing for me. And along with a friend of mine, we decided to go ahead with YOCKET. And now both of us are going to NC State.
Oh, that's so great. That's so great that both of you friends are going together. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I always say this, that all of the best success stories with YOCKET and YOCKET always start with a phone call. And it's always the phone call directly directed to one of our counselors who tell you about what we do, what are things that we do differently, and what can we do for you? Because obviously each student is unique. Every story is very unique in on itself. So since you are here, I also wanted to give everybody this opportunity to make sure that, they're bagging this opportunity and going and talking to not only you, but then getting that personalized touch by talking to one of our counselors. So guys, who all are here, as Sanjana mentioned that, that point where you're obviously a free user, you're looking at YOCKET, which is a great site, but at one point if you are dedicated and if you want to get into top universities, you have to get that extra move and you have to call a counselor to make this entire process so much easy for all of you, since Sanjana is here and I wanted to make this session extra special. So I have a form link for everybody. Anybody who wants to talk to a counselor today, go ahead, fill this form. It's just a basic preliminary form, which will help us understand your country, the course that you want to go for, the intake that you want to go for, and finally, the time that you'd like to talk to a counselor. So our counselors will get back to you and help you understand on what you can do and all the amazing possibilities that you can actually reach. So Sanjana, now diverting back to you guys, I hope that everybody is filling in the form till the time that I'm asking the question. So go ahead, fill in the form. So now down to you. If you had to pinpoint some of the best things about YOCKET, for me, let's say especially, I'm going to say it's my counselor at times, because I was losing a lot of motivation. I was losing a lot of hope. And my counselor could keep calling me that, listen, you have a deadline, you have to meet it, you have to write your SOP. So what was that special touch for you that you felt that was really great at YOCKET?
I especially like the editors for my essays. I think Narayan Rao sir was my editor, and he was amazing. Like the kind of positivity that he gave me was really, really nice. And initially when I was shortlisting universities also, I was a little reluctant, to be honest, at that point, because they were, because I've heard from other consultancies that they have these partnered universities that they will push or force you to apply for rather than you choosing them. But here, it wasn't like that. it was more of a mutual understanding or a discussion that we did. And I think I almost applied to everything that I wanted to. It was, I think none of the universities were, like forced or asked or recommended. I mean, it was definitely recommended, but was not forced upon me. So I think that was a very, very good thing about YOCKET. And recently I started my visa procedure. So my counselor was very sweet. She told me that we're going to have mocks every 2 days until the slot or my interview date. So I think these three are going to be some of my favorite moments in my journey with YOCKET.
That's so sweet. And everybody talks about Narayan sir. I've also had the opportunity to talk to him, and oh, he's a gold mine of knowledge in on himself. And most of the things that I know have come from him or my counselor. So guys, if anybody can, I would highly suggest just, having a 15-minute conversation with Narayan sir. You'll get so much clarity on what an ADCOM and admissions committee is looking for. What are these universities looking for in students? What do you need to put on your SOP? What you should avoid on your SOP? If you can, go ahead, talk to Narayan sir, if you can. So we've got this really pretty question. Actually, I wouldn't call it pretty essentially, but a really interesting question by Surbhi. And that is another question that I wanted to ask you, is that why did you choose NC University? Why did you choose NC State?
Oh, okay. A lot of people have asked me this because I've gotten into USC, Northwestern, UMass. But again, there are a lot of factors when it comes to finalizing your university. Main things for me were living expenses in LA being super high and inflated at this point. It was a very personal decision that I took about USC, though it's a brand in its own. But even the MEM course there is it's good. It's really good, but it's not the best, at least for the price that I'll be paying. NC State is, I feel, is going to give me a better MEM exposure and an experience altogether, because though it's a new kid on the block, it started very recently. Earlier, it was called a supply chain like management, like MS in supply chain. And NC is known for its industrial engineering department. So this is more like a child or a subset of the parent branch. So I feel like because it's still affiliated to the industrial engineering department, it will give me a good exposure and everything else. And it's also, I think, the location, Raleigh, Raleigh is the city where it's located. It's very pleasant with respect to weather. It was also another important factor because I am from Bangalore and I'm spoiled by a very good weather here. So living in Chicago with negative temperatures is not my scene. And that's also another reason why I did not go ahead with Northwestern. Also with the fees being super high there. So I think NC State was a very optimal choice because it ticks most of my checklist items on my checklist, being a good curriculum. It has a very good coursework, and importantly, it's very flexible. I can take courses from MBA school, from business school, and even from my engineering schools. So basically, flexible coursework. It has a co-op opportunity. RTP, Research Triangle Park, it's in the Triangle, Raleigh, Durham, which has it's actually an upcoming IT hub. So with respect to job opportunities, also it's good, and the part-time opportunities on the campus is tremendous. So I think all of these factors sort of inched me towards NC State.
I was on mute. Okay, so exactly. And one more thing that I think you mentioned in one of the conversation with my colleagues, that you really like the curriculum. And that's something that I want to point that, again, we kind of settled the debate between is GRE important or is SOP important. So do you think that a ranking for a university is more important than your liking or the curriculum? Because the reason I'm asking is I've seen a lot of students kind of get into top universities and feel that they are obliged to go into that university even if they do not align with the curriculum. So what's your take on that?
So this was a debate that I had in my head for a very long time between Texas A&M versus NC State. So if anybody here with engineering management as their plans in the future will know that Texas A&M is not really known for the course, though it's better ranked than NC State. But I would say I had to choose NC State majorly because I knew that I want to have a better experience. Like I wanted to have a better coursework, because here, as you told, I did not want to, just push myself through this rigid curriculum that Texas A&M had. Like, I know it's a very good school. It's a great school, in fact, for other departments, but I was not into the coursework that they had. So I had to choose this. So for me, because masters, it's a big decision. Like there are so many factors involved. Like you're putting in so much money, you're putting in time, effort. So you want to make sure it's worth it. Like for every dollar that you're spending, for every minute that you're spending, I feel like I wanted to make the best of what the campus had to offer to me with respect to course experience, etc. So that's the reason why I chose coursework over the US ranking for the university. So yeah, that's my take on it.
That's great. That's great. And that is something that I think everybody should also be looking at, is not just ranking of one university, but the course or the subject ranking. I know a lot of people look through QS ranking. Guys, also start looking for subject ranking, and start looking for subject ranking in the country, then start looking for subject ranking in the world. This will give you a very good insight into how you should be choosing your universities. But kudos to you. I had to deliberate for 1 week to even choose the campus for a university that I'm applying to, but great, good job for you. Okay, so we've got this question from Sai that should we gain experience or should we go directly for your master's right after you complete your bachelor's? Which is a better thing to do?
I preferred going working, because I was not too sure about the course that I wanted to do. I knew it for a fact that I did not want to continue in electronics and communication, like taking up computer engineering for my master's. I had that clarity, but I did not know what would be an alternate solution. Like, was it MBA or MEM? So I needed that good 1 year of work experience to understand what I actually wanted to do. So I would say, if you have the clarity what you want to do, and if you are probably going for computer science or computer engineering, I don't think work experience is that important of a factor, because you're already clear with what you want. So you can dive into master's journey right away. But if you're still not sure, don't get into peer pressure and just go and do whatever you want to just because some other friend of yours is doing. So give yourself time, because I know some of my friends who went right after college, some who went after 1 year, and I'm going after 2 years. So all of us work on different timelines. So don't get don't get pressurized by looking at somebody else's timeline. Even if you've worked for 3 years, it's still not late for you to go to masters, or 4 years. I don't think it's ever late for you to go for masters. If you have the will, if you have the passion, and if you're very clear about what you want, I don't think it's early or late. So I would say, if you have clarity, please go ahead. If you want some more time, take it, like work, get into communities, talk to people, and build network, and then try to understand what you can gain out of masters, and then proceed.
That's a very, very well put answer, because I think I'm getting a similar question by Shobha here, which I'm going to come to in a minute. But I think I got a couple of questions by Albert and a few other people directed to me that they have filled in the form. How will they get in touch with the counselor? So guys, if you filled in the form, the counselor will get in touch with you according to the time that you have mentioned. So please be patient. Please keep your phone handy for the time that you have mentioned. And for people who haven't filled the form, you can still go ahead and fill the form. Right. So as I was mentioning, so we've got this question by Udit, and Udit has asked me this question at least 5 times. So I'm going to make sure that now I'm taking it. Hi Sanjana, can you tell me the scope of MEM and what jobs can we get after MEM, and what are the colleges you applied in USA? is MEM general or do we do it in a specific field? So couple of questions clubbed in one. So you might want to, just break this question down.
Sure. So MEM is actually one of these booming courses in the US right now, considering a lot of people actually want to get into management field, either to up in the get a better position in the ladder, or to make a career switch. So for me it was more about I think it was both, like who doesn't want to get promoted and who would not want to climb up the ladder. So it was both, like I did not want to do something too technical and I wanted to be around people, manage people. So that was why I chose MEM. And it really is a very good course, if you ask me, especially in the US, because a lot of top business schools are along with the engineering schools are offering this course together. So I would say it's a very, very good degree to consider for people who are not too interested in coding or VLSI, etc. Because I have done both in my in the past, and I did not really enjoy doing too much of both. If I have to talk about MEM, yes, you can do general MEM, and you can also specialize in particular fields. Like supply chain is a very important or in demand track that most people consider, and usually people with mechanical background get into it. But again, it's not a hard and fast rule that only people with mechanical background have to get into supply chain. In fact, I've also considered taking up these subjects in my journey in my future, like once I get into NC State. But I've decided to go ahead with product management as my specialization because I have a little bit of experience with respect to project management in my organization, and I really enjoyed doing it. And I could imagine doing this for a longer run in my future. So I want to explore all of these fields, product and project management in my future. There's analytics, there is facilities engineering. So these are some of the tracks that you can think of getting into. So roles, if you ask me about the roles that people get into after the course, it could be project management, product management, product manager, business functional analyst, and yeah, so basically supply chain analyst, so operation manager, so something like this. So it would be a functional role that people generally get into after MEM. Did I miss out anything in the questions?
I think that was answered, because they also asked you what universities did you apply to in the US, but I think you've already mentioned that. Do you want to just quickly give us a run through of all the universities that you've applied to, all the universities that you've gotten an admit from?
Okay, so I applied to NYU for management of technology because they did not have MEM exactly. MOT is very similar to MEM, so that was kind of an outlier in my list. NYU, applied to NC State, North Carolina State University, applied to Northwestern, I applied to Northeastern, I applied to UMass, I applied to San Jose State University, I applied to Purdue, I applied to Texas A&M. What else? What am I missing?
North Carolina State University.
NC State, I applied to. I think I'm missing.
University of Arizona also.
Yeah, University of Arizona. And one more, I think I just missed mentioning, but I got into all of them except Purdue, because Purdue had a very, very strict admission council, and with the lot of applicants, they have a pool of applicants. So I just unfortunately couldn't make it through it. But I got into all other 9 universities out of the 10 I'd applied to.
That's great. That's great. And that is, I'm pretty sure that must at some point feel surreal, but internally when you say that, I've gotten into all 9, that feeling must be really different, right?
Yeah. I'm still not able to process it, honestly, because NYU was the first admit that I actually got. There was a point when I remember telling my parents that, even if I get 2 universities, I'll be happy. At least I have an option to choose between the 2 instead of just having one admit. But yeah, God's grace, and yeah, like things worked out for me. I would say I got I got into these universities, and it's a very good feeling to have, and I'm sure all of you will get into good schools, and it'll be a very worthwhile experience once you see that admit status on your portal or the email. So I think, yeah, the first admit will always be special, will always be a good feeling, and I think we'll all experience it in our lives. So yeah.
Definitely, definitely. And now that you're talking about it, I'm also all getting very sentimental thinking about it, because it's definitely a very nostalgic feeling. I wouldn't say nostalgic, but it's a feeling that's quite different from any other feeling that,
Yeah.
once the admits start piling up. And definitely it's a luxury, and it's a great feeling to even choose from universities. So congratulations. I don't know if I said it in the beginning, but a huge, huge congratulations to you. And you've essentially nailed it. You've cracked the code, and you have done the thing that all of us want to do. You've gotten into some of the best universities for your course, and I am genuinely so happy. And even the entire team Yocket, we wish you such a huge, huge congratulations for your amazing journey.
Thank you so much for that.
Okay, great. So we're just going to take one final question before we end the session. So we've gotten this question by Shobha here, and she says that I'm graduating in the year 2024. Is it possible for her to apply in 2024? Because spring 25 intake is very less for MSNCS course, and she would lose out on months if she has to apply for fall 2025. So what would you suggest, and what is your advice?
I know a couple of people, at least with my cohort, who are still not. I mean, when I was applying, they had actually not graduated yet. They were still waiting for their marks cards or their final transcripts to arrive. You can start applying, because I know people who applied with me when I was doing for my universities, who hadn't graduated. So answering Shobha's question, you can go ahead. Just make sure your requirements are met during the timeline that they have. And I think the best thing is to always write to the university about your situation, because I remember doing it before applying. I told them about my profile, saying, oh, hey, I'm interested about this course. I gave them a little background about myself. I told them that this is what I've been doing. I'm interested to study in this particular field. And I gave them my details, like I gave them my CGPA and the basic resume that I had at that point. And I asked them if the timeline would be suitable for me. And the universities are actually nice. They get back to you. They answer your questions. So start building the connect from now itself. I would say start writing to professors, start writing to universities, so that they already know that you're interested in the university. And I think one good thing about the US universities are that they get back to you. I cannot comment on other countries. Maybe it's happening elsewhere. But because I've applied to the universities in the US, I can talk on their behalf. Shobha, you can start applying. I think you can apply, because I know people who have been studying and applying. So yeah, you can do it. Good luck.
Yeah, definitely. I think this year only we got a lot of students who have gotten their admits and are still completing. So till this time, they're still giving their exams.
Yeah.
So it's completely possible, 100%. And as you mentioned, some universities, they do respond, some don't. From coming from a very personal experience, some just do not. I didn't apply to any universities in the US, but talking about European countries and the UK, some respond are very kind, some just do not. Okay, so I've gotten this one final thought by Krishna here, who asked that as I'm planning for spring 24, what advice would you give me? Would you like to give me as a student applying for universities abroad? And that is kind of my final thought for you, that for all the students here for fall 24, spring 24, even for me, let's say, because I'm going to study abroad. So what is your topmost advice for anybody who's going to start their applications from the next week or the next month, and who's going to study and who's dreaming exactly the same university dreams as you are? So what is your advice?
I would say the key is to start applying early, because it puts you in a better position, at least with respect to not pushing yourself too hard to meet the tight deadlines. Like I would say if you give yourself time, you can just make yourself a better applicant, and you can do justice to the process of application. So start applying early, have clarity, keep your plan a little flexible, because don't be too rigid. I feel like being too rigid could just sometimes, like once you've made up your mind on particular university, you just happen to speak to somebody and you see there are better opportunities elsewhere in a different university. You should be ready to make changes, like switch couple of universities that are lower on your list, so that the chances of you doing a better course, it gets better. So start applying early, I would say, and be true to yourself when you're writing your essays. It's very important. It's not that you have to be a Shakespeare to write the best piece of work. Of course, grammar is very important. Your style of writing is important. The formal way of writing is important. But at the same time, if you can give a personal touch, I would say it's a very important factor, giving a personal touch to your essays, because it shows the university the kind of person that you are, which is very important. Advice, I would say, make sure you apply. And even I was very worried about spring versus fall, but for me, getting internships were one of my important factors. I feel that in spring the option is a little limited when compared to fall. I'm not saying it's not there at all. I'm not discouraging any spring applicants here, but make sure you have made an informed decision about it, because internships play a very important role. And also some of the universities are not offered in spring. Like I know Carnegie Mellon does not have openings in spring at all. So do not apply to a university just because the chances of you getting into it in spring is more. Like make sure the university is very good for your course at least. Internship opportunities are there. There are adequate internship opportunities. And once you have made a decision based on these factors, and if you still think spring is a good option, please go ahead and apply for it, because I know people who went ahead and applied for spring and they're doing well. So it's not that if you apply in spring you might not get opportunities. You just have to find it. But in fall, at least with what I've heard is or spoken to seniors, the chances are a little more when compared to spring. That's my take about spring versus fall. And in general, I would say just enjoy the whole process. We all get overwhelmed. I remember getting overwhelmed, calling up my friends, crying, in fact, because I felt like this is just a lot of work. But for all I know, at this point, I'm actually happy that I did it. I experienced, it was probably one of the most hectic 5 or 6 months of my life. But once you get the admit, you just realize that all of the efforts that you put in are actually worth it. So I would say you have to be dedicated. You have to give time to yourself. It's an investment. And when I say investment, it's not just money. Again, money is an important factor, but with respect to the time that you're investing, make sure that you are doing the best that you can for yourself, not for anybody, but for yourself. So when you stand after you get an admit, you feel proud of yourself.
Oh, that's so incredible. And what a lovely way to kind of, sum up everything. And definitely, I mean, a lot of people think that it's a huge process, which definitely is. There will be times where you're frustrated. There will be times where you want to leave it also. But exactly as Sanjana said, that, at the end of the day, once you have those admits in hand, once you, finalizing all the things and you kind of sit and ponder, you're going to be feeling very, very, very proud of yourself. And I'm sure that, Sanjana, that is exactly the feeling that you must be feeling right now. So I'm going to say for myself, I loved the session today. It was such a roller coaster for me. I got so many insights. You made me a little emotional also, which I'm going to I'm just going to let it slide. But how was the session for you? Did you enjoy talking to all the students here? And how was your experience?
I had fun because I've always believed in sharing my experience, like good or bad. Like I'm not saying I've always had like the best moments of my life, and that's only the thing. That's the only thing that I've shared with people. I believe in getting inspired through each other's stories. So I feel like this platform has definitely helped me reach out to a lot of students like me, because I was in a very similar position a while ago, not too long ago. So I know exactly how each and every one of you are feeling at this point. It's okay, I would say embrace the feeling, embrace the overwhelming things that would keep coming to you, but make sure you're not too affected by it. Don't stick on to that for too long. Get over it as quickly as you can, and please surround yourself with positive and encouraging people. It's very important. Like I would say my friends and my family, even though they did not know much about the course, or at least my parents, they did not have too much idea about or technicalities of the master's degree, but they were always there to support me, to tell me that it's okay to feel overwhelmed, it's okay to get lost at one point, but it's also important to get back as quickly as you can. So it's very important for you to stay positive. And juggling between academics, master's prep, work, master's prep will always be there. And in life, I don't think there's just one track that you'll be dealing with. You'll have to deal with multiple tracks. But it just, I think, makes you a better person. It just gives you a better perspective about life, about what you want to do in future. So just stay positive, enjoy the whole process, and I'm glad it'll be worth it for all of you.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. And I'm sure that everybody here enjoyed the session as much as I did, as much as I am sure, Sanjana, you did. And from everybody here, I'd like to extend this very huge congratulations and a very huge thank you for coming down and talking about all of these things, because when you are starting, there are most things that you do not know about, and getting guidance from somebody who essentially did such an amazing job at it, it always feels good. So thank you so much, Sanjana, for coming down and also kind of bearing the entire process and the journey for us, good and bad, things that will make us very excited and things that will be daunting for us. So thank you so much for this opportunity, for giving us the opportunity to host you and, talk about all of these lovely things.
Yeah,
So,
I would actually like to thank Team YOCKET for having me here. When I actually got a call about it, I was like, am I really invited as a guest speaker? Because it felt very nice, actually, to be honest. Like I felt very happy about it. Because I've just spoken to somebody in bits and pieces, but this was about summarizing my whole journey. And I was, even before attending the call, I did not want to be too over prepared, because I knew I would miss few points. So I wanted to actually do some things on the fly, and I hope I've done justice to the session here. And I'd like to thank all my counselors, my editor, my favorite editor, Narayan sir, for helping me so much throughout the whole process. And my visa counselors that I'm a part, I'm still in touch with, because I still have to get a slot and go through the whole interview process. So thank you, Team YOCKET. Thank you for having me today and for helping me through this whole journey, and I'm really grateful.
okay, awesome. Thank you so much once again, and congratulations, Sanjana. We actually hope to have you again for some of the other session, so that I'm sure that there's a lot more things that a lot of other students can get benefit from. So we're going to have you again shortly. And for people, you just have final 10 seconds to fill in the form. For anybody who wants to embark on the same journey as Sanjana, 10 final seconds for you to fill in the form, and then we shut the session. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining the session, and for people from YouTube who have just joined us. I can see that a lot of people were coming in from YouTube as well. So thank you so much, guys, on YouTube. Thank you so much, guys, on Zoom, for joining us. And it has been such a lovely, 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 amazing session. Thank you so much, Sanjana. Thank you so much, everybody. And all the very best for your journey, guys. All the very best for your application. So with that said, thank you so much, everyone. And I hope you have a great, great evening today.
Good luck, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a great evening. All the very best to everybody for their applications and everything. And yeah, we'll see you again some other time with some other amazing webinar, some other amazing event. That's it. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a great evening. Thank you so much, Sanjana, once again.
Thanks a lot.